What's an instant green flag on a date? When the conversation between us flows smoothly. I'm pretty shy and terrible at starting a conversation, so it's super appealing when it comes easily. So much this. There was once a cute girl I could tell had a crush on me, but I never asked her out because every time we spoke, I had to pull the conversation out of her. Talking with her got to be tedious, and because of that people who can't hold a conversation are one of my biggest turnoffs. Ironic, since I myself am a quiet introvert. Frankly, if I'm on a first date with a girl and the conversation flows smoothly, which, as an introvert, can be a sign that I'm very comfortable and at ease around her, she's already made herself a serious contender for marriage. So, that old romantic cliche of "I knew I would marry you on our first date" won't be an exaggeration if I ever say it to a woman. When they remember of something you said and bring it up again, can actually build on a conversation and keep it going. I looked in my mirror after reading this, and a red flag started back. I hope I someday will be able to learn this skill. The trick is there are none. What you should be looking for is consistency in their actions and words, rather than one standout quality or feature. This is it. We all put our best foot forward, and not to be manipulative, when we are in the public eye. That and it takes a few months to really see a person, because we are blinded by the excitement of the early period of the relationship. Usually it takes anywhere from 3 to 6 months before either of the person's baggage starts slipping, or our eyes become adjusted to their faults. And this is where the real dating begins. Can you see yourself with someone with that type of baggage? Respect, really, that's it. Not expecting something. Also, it's going to be different for every person, but for people who have PTSD like me, asking consent for even a kiss. I'm the same way. I hate it when guys just go in for a kiss on the first date. It triggers something about my sexual assault. And then I freeze up and pretend like it's okay, because I don't want to go batshit on them. Haven't dated much anymore because of the risk involved, but also made peace with taking time to find a partner who really understands me, them being considerate of your wants and needs, and working together to find a compromise if there are any clashes. For example, I really don't like shellfish. Crustaceans are sea cockroaches and you can't convince me otherwise. So a date at a restaurant known for its crabs or lobster wouldn't be a great time for me. If the person steamrolled over that and insisted we go there anyway, I'd be out. But if they said something like, "Oh, cool, there's this other place that does burger / pasta / whatever, but I love their crab dish, let's go there," I'd be totally on board. Being an absolute gentleman and being genuine. First date with my husband, I arrived way too early. I was nervous. I had just come from a long day of work, kinda looked like the worst version of myself, makeup off, since I spent the day running after my kindergartners. He arrived, offered to get me another coffee, offered to pay, but accepted when I said I wanted to pay for mine. He came back with our coffees, and we talked. He couldn't keep his eyes off me as I talked. I have strange likes and hobbies, and he kept eye contact and was genuinely laughing and / or reacting to things I said. He was, and still is, a great listener. She brings her Pokemon card collection. I don't even play Pokemon, but that's an instant green flag. They treat everyone around them with empathy and mutual respect. It says a lot about a person, how they treat people serving them / people who they gain nothing from by smooching up to them, reaching / offering to pay for her half. If the date goes well, and I like the girl, I'll cover it all myself, but it's the sentiment that she had the respect to not automatically expect me to pay. The person I'm on a date with can finish my jokes because he gets all the references. It's like we finish each other's. Girls who bite their tongue when they smile. Getting genuinely excited talking about their interests. Splitting the check. Spending more time describing what they like instead of what they don't. A girl I dated came to see me before going on an extended hiking trip with some of her friends. Long distance relationship. She ended up not going on that trip and instead stayed with me for the duration of what would have been her trip. When I asked why, she looked at me and said, I honestly would rather spend any free time I can get with you than go on any trip. Green flag. That was 5 years ago. We've been married for 4 years and have a 2-year-old little girl. She's my best friend and I love her more than words can describe. Realistic expectations on life. I'm not a prince, you aren't a princess. We probably aren't gonna be able to afford to live in a castle just because that movie you saw as a kid ended that way. Living within your budget because you expect tomorrow's reality to be similar to today's is a sign of maturity that I just don't see all that often, unfortunately. When I was on the first date with my wife, we were finishing up our dinner when I mentioned a movie that was coming out soon. She said she was excited for it too, and that we should go see it. I thought, a clear green light for a second date, and forged ahead with full confidence. After we were married, I mentioned that the hint was super helpful, putting me at ease. Turns out, she hadn't meant it as a hint. She was 100% thinking about how much she wanted to see the movie, and didn't even consider that it could be a date. Being nice to the wait staff. I've had a date where the guy talked over a deli counter worker and was impatient. Couldn't let the worker finish his questions all 3 times. He wanted me to meet his daughter after 2 weeks, and love bombed me within a month. Another guy also somewhat rude to wait staff. Dude love bombed me in 5 days. Guys who were nice to wait staff took 2 years, 4 months, and 6 months to say I love you. Those were my more successful relationships. The 2 years one was BC, we were just hooking up for a while before we started officially dating. Interesting now that I write that all out. The first time my now wife came over to my house, she saw that my cat had some gunk in his eyes. Anyone with a cat knows this happens a lot. And she wiped his eyes. She didn't have to do that and wasn't asked to. I thought it was really sweet. 5 years later, we are married. They're honest and upfront about themselves. On my current partners and my first date I spoke about how I was an addict, codeine. He told me about his depression. Turned out, he had experience with addiction and I have also suffered from depression. Not only do we have these things in common, we really get each other and understand what the other is going through. We told each other this stuff right off the bat, so there were no nasty surprises later, and we could see we were revealing our innermost selves to each other, so we trusted immediately. Been together 5 years, and never told a lie to each other. On the first date with a man I later married, he picked me up in a first-gen Hummer. I was worried. But when I got in he had this cup of candies and told me he just got them from the convenience store, but they taste like dust. Do you want some? I have no idea why, really, but that just made me feel like okay, this guy maybe has a chance anyway. Lol. Green flag I experienced with my now fiance. He met me outside my work and we went to the McDonald's opposite so I could get changed as we were catching a movie and food. I took my stuff to the loos to get changed. Halfway through getting changed I realized I'd left my bag with my phone, purse and house keys at the table with this guy I'd only just met. I got changed as quick as possible and went out to see where we were sat. Had now been closed off by the cleaning staff and he had moved. I panicked. I assumed he had bolted with my handbag and ditched me. I walked a little further into the seating area and spotted he had moved to a new table. He saw my shocked face and explained he had been asked to move tables by the cleaner. My handbag was there with him. He hadn't left with it and apologized for worrying me. I knew from then on I could trust him, and he was one to keep. 8 years later we are now engaged, bought a house, and expecting our first child together. Trust your instincts, people, and be grateful of any green flags you get from someone early on. When 1 hour turns into 5, because neither of you want to leave the other. When you are both comfortable in the natural silence of conversation. When they don't look at their phone when you are around to pay attention to you. When even when you usually a shy person, they make you feel you have knew them for years.